Hey everyone, Animeakers here. So today I want to talk about aesthetics. Aesthetics is just super important to me as an artist, as someone who draws, as someone who really cares about how things look. Yeah, aesthetics is just huge for me. Like I want to have like a mug that looks cool for my eyes. Like I don't want to have like a lame mug. Like just stuff like that, like objects. Like I want things to just look nice, to look pretty, to look refined. Just certain things like that I just really enjoy. But yeah, aesthetics is a big part of my life. I, watch so many TV shows, watch so many anime, manga, comics, all of these like visual mediums that use aesthetics. That's a fundamental part of those mediums. Without aesthetics, they literally couldn't exist. It is like fundamental to how they're presented. Each individual creator has their own way they present their story or the way they direct their scene. And part of that is an aesthetic flair. Like aesthetics isn't just like what you visually see, as in like it is, like that's definitely like a big proponent of it, but aesthetics can also have like other effects. A certain aesthetic can evoke emotions in you, use different colors, like maybe like more blues and make things a bit darker and things feel more somber. Like there are like, effects that you can have with different angled shots in a view. You take a wide angle lens and it kind of feels like a landscape regardless of what you're looking at, and then you take like a view from up high down and it looks like you're looking at just little people on like a map. But then if you do that on like one person, or you present it as like one other person looking down on another, now it creates like a tension, like a social tension of like who's greater than who's less than who. So the aesthetic framing has all this like intentionality and stuff, and I guess there could be a debate of like, well, is that aesthetics or is that just like storytelling device? But like I want to kind of emphasize just how entwined those two things are. Like your aesthetics or your preferred aesthetic, if you started like making a story, or if you started like just drawing panels and stuff like that, you'll notice that you'll have certain frames that you just prefer to use. Like sometimes you might prefer close-ups over to wide angle shots, or you might prefer when there's just one thing in the scene versus like all these chaotic things in a scene. And that is an aesthetic preference. So even though it has like a storytelling mechanism to it, even though it can actually enhance the story, detract from the story, all of that stuff, you also have your own preferences for like how you want the story itself to be presented to you. And that is your taste and that is your preferences. And those things I feel like are really important, especially when it comes to like finding like, shows and stuff that you really care about. Like if the director is presenting things in a way that aligns with what you think is visually beautiful, then the experience is totally going to be enhanced. That's just how it is, right? So like it's always cool to find like someone or like something presented in a way that you're supposed to receive, where you're like, what, this is made for me, this is like really in line with what I want to see and the aesthetics that I want to experience. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that brought up this aesthetics idea is I've been watching this anime. I completed it now, called Noir. It's made in 2001, and it's a drama, and I think it's based in France. Yeah, there's a lot of like French kind of like little indications about that culture, and yeah, the characters are like this. They're both essentially like these mercenary / assassins kind of thing, and they both use guns and stuff. And there's Muriel Bouquet and Kirika, and they're kind of like this duo as Noir. But the feeling of it, and this is the next part of aesthetics that I want to talk about, which is like general vibe. Like the feeling of this show feels kind of ethereal, despite like a lot of it, despite it being like this, people like contract killing kind of vibe. It's also very slow in its presentation. It's very thoughtful in the way it holds its scenes. It kind of pans on like certain spots in like episodes for like a while, and you're supposed to really kind of take in like the lush backgrounds, and you're supposed to take in maybe even like just like a little eye twitch, or like and the music is just like amazing. So and that also has like a certain flair to it as well that really takes you in. But the main thing I want to focus on is the background art, which is gorgeous. Like everything is like painted, like everything's been painted and everything looks amazing. And they do like reuse it, but they reuse it for like a really good reason, because it's genuinely like gorgeous. Like everything in the background is just amazing. Like everything is amazing. Everything is just like the colors all swell together. It looks beautiful, and it feels like someone really tried to like make a show that would be like the peak of what would be pleasing to the eyes. Now obviously, you know, like there is a certain amount of art that is like subjective and you might not like it, but I feel like the effort is undeniable, and it genuinely just looks really impressive, and you can tell that there was a lot of love and attention provided to it. So it's really made me see like how much I value aesthetics, because like I found myself like just watching this show and just for, like honestly just for like the visuals, like, and I think the story is really good. I think the story has some issues at the start, but then it gets like really good later on, especially when the plot picks up. So but yeah, I highly recommend the show. But yeah, it's definitely a vibe. I love like so many of the frames, they're so intentional. Like I love when frames and scenes in like anime or manga, like, and you can tell like this has been crafted for me to interpret it in a certain way, and then I have to like figure it out in the moment. Like instead of just like a basic shot, they decided to make it as cool as possible in the moment, so that it would be as pleasurable as possible for the person watching. So stuff like that I always appreciate, because there's just so much attention to detail in the craft. Now I do want to talk about like group aesthetic versus individual aesthetic, because I think sometimes it can get mixed up. Like for example, you know, some person might be doing some like dark academia aesthetic, and it's like there is a difference between like adapting yourself to like an aesthetic to try be something you're not, versus actually having like a legitimate aesthetic that you can be, you know, where you're not just performing, but it is an authentic expression of like who you are. And you know, I feel like that's kind of lacking personally. Like if I, you know, go talk to someone and I see that they're dressed in a cool way, sometimes when they try to articulate why they're dressed in that way, it just goes as far as like, you know, this is cool, or like, you know, I'm just kind of in this mood, and I'm like, you know, there is such a thing as like an authentic aesthetic where you're reflecting your inner world in your outer space. So it's like who you are on the inside is accurate to who you are on the outside, or you try to make it as accurate as possible. And I think that's like the authentic aesthetic, while the group aesthetic is less authentic. Not saying it doesn't have some sort of value, because you do get some sort of like group connection thing, but I think, you know, I think it does move away from some sort of authenticity when it's not anchored within the self. And I think, you know, like one of the things I like about aesthetics and beauty, which is very much like synonymous with each other, is that beauty exists in the eye of the beholder, and I think that is without a doubt true. But I don't think, you know, even if we say that, even if we say beauty is in the eye of the beholder, in that like, okay, like that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to like justify why you think something is beautiful, because I think that's also pretty useful. Not useful, but like I think it's a good thing to do, because what it does is it keeps the conversation going and it makes things interesting. But I think what the true value of that phrase, like beauty is in the eye of the beholder, is it's kind of like an invitation to inquire deeper within your own aesthetic, and in order to find what you truly find to be beautiful. So I think that's what that meaning should be. I feel like that's what the next step of what that saying should be. It's like, yes, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and therefore that is an invitation for you to look deeper into your own subjectivity in order to experience more beauty. You know, like one of the things, or one of the series that I personally find to be the most beautiful and to be the most aesthetic is a series called Boogie Pop. It's a light novel series, and I just love the vibe. Like I love the vibe of that series, and I personally think it's like genuinely like a beautiful kind of vibe. Like in the anime, everything's kind of like gritty and like dark, and there's like purple hues, but there's all this like lighting as well, so things still pop. and it just has like this vibe that I can't help but just appreciate. It's just really nice. But let's just say I showed it to someone, they might think it's like super dark or kind of gross or too bloody, or there'll be all these reasons why it might look kind of scary. But at least for my eyes, I think it looks amazing. Like, I've also been like watching like the X-Files, and I think that also has a similar aesthetic vibe to Boogie Pop. Not completely. I feel like Boogie Pop is more kind of like on the edge of some sort of slight insanity, if that makes sense. But X-Files feels a bit more contained. Like, it's more like detectives going to like solve cases and stuff. But at the same time, just the way it's shot, the way the lighting's done, and the way each of the people that they go after, they're creatures that are outside of society, and they could be like cannibals or just like monsters in human form and all that stuff. And that's some of the stuff that's in Boogie Pop as well. And it just has like this aura of like some sort of like sinister something happening, and it's it's very interesting to just kind of go into that. I found even in like more positive series like Baccano, it has that kind of vibe sometimes, especially at the beginning with the Rail Tracer, and like there is also like the serial killer light novel. So there's just like stuff where it kind of goes into that like darker area, but it's not it's not like this it's not necessarily horror. Like, I wouldn't call it horror, but it is eerie. Like even the fifth novel of Baccano, like you're going into this like unknown village, and there is an unsettling feeling, and it's that unsettling feeling of like you're going into the unknown and you don't know what it is. It's like looking at like darkness, and all you see are just like two like eyeballs like looking back at you. Like, it's not like like the jump scares from like horror movies where you don't see it, there's something in the corner and then it just jumps at you. Like, that's not what this is. This is more like I don't know if this is like bad or good. Like, you don't know if you're in danger, but you kind of want to like move towards like figuring it out or figuring what's going on. And that's kind of like that vibe that I really like. That's kind of like one of my personal favorite like aesthetics, because it just, I mean, I don't really have a reason for it. It just captures me. I just think it's like a really, like there's just something about like a certain kind of eeriness that I just really, really enjoy. So yeah, aesthetics is just huge for me. And I see, like I love like dressing up in like different ways, and I enjoy, like I said before, like just different items. Like, I want a lot of like the items in my life, like just everyday things that I use to be kind of beautiful, to be kind of more than what's necessary. Like, I enjoy that. And I don't even mean expensive. Like, I don't believe that anything, you don't need like a crap ton of money to like dress in a way that represents your aesthetic, and you don't need a crap ton of money in order to have like goods that are very pleasing to you. Like, if you understand your eye, your eye that sees beauty, like the the thing that is the thing that determines what is beautiful for you, and you see like the patterns between what you like and what you don't like and all that stuff, eventually like you could go to like a store that's like not very expensive at all, and you can just find things that are just amazing. Like, you can find things that really reflect your tastes, and they will feel like yours, and they will feel like precious, and it will be important to you. And all those things like really kind of enhance like the experience. Like, if I'm like drinking tea from like a mug that I don't think is cool, I don't enjoy it as much. But if I drinking tea from like a personalized mug that I really care about, that I've also like either designed or like I've gotten I've like shipped it in because I really enjoyed the design and all that stuff, or it's just something I found, but regardless of how I got it, like that I truly think it's like aesthetically beautiful and it represents something to me, then I'm not only more willing to like clean it, not only am I more willing to do like all those like menial tasks and all that stuff, like my entire experience of drinking tea or whatever is enhanced. So I feel like aesthetics is just like this thing that just completely enhances one's life, one's experience. It's like the difference between like like you could just sit there and uh, you know, and just, you know, doom scroll, or you could doom scroll and have like cool piano sounds in the background. Like, it's like, you know, because that creates a certain kind of vibe. Or you could have like candles out, and that also creates a certain kind of vibe that's pretty cool, and it kind of brings you into a mood. Like, it takes you into like another world, and all that stuff, which is really cool. You know, like, aesthetics is only shallow if you make it shallow, right? Like, it only lacks depth and is only on the surface if the like integrity of the person who made it is acting in life through a surface level lens. Like, if you're engaging in life in an authentic way, then the thing on the outside also, you know, shines. I do believe that. And I think that comes through with, you know, art and media and all that. Like, when you're really present, you know, like if you draw and stuff, like when you're really present, when your inner state is excellent, like your lines are better, it's all better. Like, everything you craft is just so much better. So I think, you know, like, aesthetics and the interior are like deeply linked. Anyway, that's all I have to say about aesthetics, at least right now. I feel like I'll probably talk about it more. But yeah, I deeply value it, and I think it is an important thing. I don't think everyone needs to value it. I'm not one of those people who prescribes people to, you know, value things that I value. I think everyone has their own, you know, values and stuff. But but this is something that I really deeply care about. Okay, I hope you enjoyed that, and thanks for listening. Goodbye.